the reruns on, what was it, the RFD TV?
Yeah, you can do that. It's okay to curse around count, but never, not the F-bombs. It's never the F-bomb. It's never appropriate. Okay, I can do that.
Okay, we ready? Meeting will come to order. This is the Erda City Council meeting held on Thursday, February 17th, 2022 at 7 p.m. We are in the Tooele County Auditorium located at 47 South Main Street, Tooele, Utah. We do have a live meeting going on Google Meet, and we're also broadcasting on YouTube. Start off with a roll call. Terry Minor. Here. Kel Martin.
Here.
Jess Bird is here. Craig Smith.
Here.
And Scott Rubay.
Present.
We are all present. We'll start with a pledge, and Terry, I think it's your turn, if you wouldn't mind.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move straight on into our public comment section. If you have anything to say, we'll give you about 3 minutes. Come on up and sign your name and tell us who you are and let us know what you have to say.
I do have a raised hand on mine from Jeff McNeil.
Okay, great.
Jeff, it says I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for being willing to take public comment and to allow us to do it online for those of us who couldn't attend the meeting tonight. I just had a couple of things that I would like to ask, and realizing that you may not be able to answer them directly, but as you go through the meeting, you can think about those. I sat through the county council meeting where they discussed the agreement with Erda, the proposed agreement, options A and B, to provide services that we don't have at this time, and have a couple of concerns about that. Number one, we need to get something in place so that we make sure our services continue. But it seems to me like, reading through the document as well as listening to the discussion at the county level, that we're going to get the same crappy service from the county that we've always gotten. I'm still not going to have my road fixed after 20 years of no service on it, but I'm going to get to pay 2% more for it. That 2% is going to come somewhere, and it's going to end up coming in a tax hike, because we're not magically going to end up with 2% more money. So I'm a little concerned about that, and hope that all of you, as well as the rest of the residents of Erda City, recognize that that's going to be inevitable. And 2% currently is a lot for those of us on fixed incomes. It's a big deal, 2%. And then on top of that, we get to pay, if we choose the option where we borrow money from the county, we get to pay another 4.5% interest for that money. And I think we're in a rock and hard spot. We've got to do something. And so there's 6.5% that more than I was paying already for crappy service, and now I get to pay more, me and all my neighbors and so on. So I'm concerned about that. So please think about that as you vote and as you discuss these issues. The other concern I have is that we're going to just keep changing ordinances based on somebody filing a referendum. Because if you adapt these ordinances today, there are those of us who are likely to file a referendum against that. Because if that's all it takes is a threat of a referendum for you to change your mind and start all over again, then that's a terrible way to run a government, is by referendum. But it can be done, and not only will the same group that files referendums now, but the rest of us can do likewise. And so please don't do things based on threats of referendum, but realize that the rest of us can likewise file referendums, and that's likely going to happen if you adapt the ordinances that you're going to adopt tonight regarding the zoning and stopping all of these things and making it so people can't get building permits and who knows what other mess we're going to be in. So continue to work hard, continue to think about all the options, weigh that in your mind, do what's right, what's moral and what's best for the citizens, not what's best for some group that constantly protests. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jeff.
Anybody else online, Corey?
There are a lot of people online. Julie Lyman has a raised hand. We'll go to her.
I just wanted to say for the record, not all of the Erda residents think that the services from Twila County were terrible. We've lived here over 30 years and have been happy the entire time with it. And I just don't think this hostility and negativity helps our cause. But I completely agree with Jeff McNeil on the referendums. I just ditto what he says.
Thanks, Julie. I'm saying that because I'm closest to them.
Doing a good job. Who else? Is that it online, Corey?
I don't see
Okay.
with the hand raised anyways. There's plenty of people there.
Okay. I'd accept a motion to close public comment.
I move we close the public comment.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded that we close public comment. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll vote. We'll go ahead and, that passes. We'll go ahead and close public comment. We've got here to approve the meeting minutes from February 3rd. Is everybody ready to approve those minutes?
Yep.
Okay. Chair moves that we approve these minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve minutes from February 3rd. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And are there any opposed? And it's approved. Okay, we'll dive right in. This is not necessarily under any committee. This is just a general ordinance. And maybe I'll ask John. John, why are we passing this, or why are we considering this tonight?
Which one is this?
Oh, sorry. This is ordinance 2211, an ordinance implementing authority to conduct electronic meetings and providing procedures for participation in electronic meetings of the council.
The state statute requires you to adopt policy dealing with electronic meetings. So this is the adoption of a policy regarding electronic meetings.
Okay.
So if the council can't be here, you can have an electronic meeting.
Great. We looked at this, we did early on a resolution or at least a discussion and a vote that allowed when a member was gone for him to participate in the next meeting. This just formalizes it, something we need to do.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and move that we adopt this ordinance. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any other questions or discussion on this? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance number 22-11, an ordinance of Erda implementing authority to conduct electronic meetings and providing procedures for participation in electronic meetings of the council. All in favor, please say aye.
Ordinance needs a roll call vote.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Terry Minor.
Yes.
Kel Martin.
Yep.
Jesper votes yes. Greg Smith.
Yes.
Scott Kirby.
Yes.
Okay. Unanimous roll call vote. Okay, on the finance, would anyone like to give us a cliff notes from the county meeting 2 nights ago?
I printed off a couple of other things just before I came here. I left my Cliff Notes sitting by the printer. But I think they made us a pretty good offer. Did they send that to you, John?
Because Colin has been out.
Oh, yeah, he's got COVID.
No.
He has.
No, he doesn't have COVID,
I
but
thought
he's,
Valid strip.
no, but he is in the hospital.
Oh, well, that's good, but that's bad.
Yeah.
Good that he doesn't have COVID. So we have the option on the roads. Terry and I are over that. So just like we had talked, they're gonna get the CMB road funds. And we have the option to receive their services for the first 3 months, for the first 6 months, or the first 9 months of this year.
Just to be clear, who's collecting those BNC road funds, us or the county?
They said they're gonna collect them
No.
on behalf of us, didn't they?
No, they will fill out all the paperwork and apply for it. The funds will come to us, and then we have 30 days to refund them
Yeah, that's what I meant.
their portion.
Yeah.
And Terry, it's our understanding that we get a more favorable number from the state filing that way. Is that right?
Yeah, but I don't understand because the question I had was the way it's stated, it's like 51,000 is what we owe. If we do it on our behalf where it comes from us to where they can do the population part, then that could mean more than that.
Oh, I see.
But the thing said that they would receive all of the funds, so.
So we would give them whatever we get.
We'll give
Yeah.
them whatever we get for
So if it
whatever
was 60,000,
period.
60,000 instead of 50,000, that's what they'd get.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me. Let's say we're gonna get 60,000 extra due to population. And we choose the 3-month period option. Divide that 60 into quarters, and we take 3 quarters and they get a quarter, something like that. So we're still making out better having it filed this way.
Yeah, but it's about 50,000 per quarter.
Well, he's just
Total.
saying that
I'm
the
just saying
difference
the
on
addition.
and them
The addition.
collecting it and us collecting it.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's a win for us because they are going to prepare and submit it for us now.
That's just if we do the first quarter, that's just that quarter.
Well,
Yeah.
it'll be for the whole year. It'll be submitted for the whole year. We will get the funds. We will have to give them the first quarter. But we also don't have to pay someone to prepare and turn it in. So we come out ahead. It was a great proposal for us.
What do you think, John?
Well, the BNC road funds will come directly to the city's PTIF account. And then you'll just owe that to the county. I also put provision in there that we'd have to consent to the mileage information they give UDOT. They didn't want to play a game.
Do we have a PTIF account yet?
We do not have a PTIF account.
What's lacking there? What do we gotta do?
Got a bond, get a bond.
You have to get some money.
Oh. How much?
$1.
Okay.
Real money.
Last time I was at the bank, you had to have $100 to open an account.
PTIF account.
I don't know. What's a PTIF account?
It's the state account. The state manages funds for the cities.
Public transportation infrastructure.
All the excess money that you don't need to pay for bills, so to speak, is invested by the state treasurer in what they call a PTIF account. And it's a state account. The treasurer will then have authority to take funds from the PTIF account, put it into your checking account, and pay bills.
So we don't have to set up our own PTIF account?
Yes, we do.
So say we're expecting to get some kind of funding soon.
As soon as we get it, yes.
We're waiting for the funding to come and then we open the PTIF account?
So the bank can't do a
The
PTIF?
bank cannot do a PTIF account.
This is an account with the state.
We're waiting for our first money then.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for some money.
Okay, all right.
So what do, Terry and I
Adopt a resolution.
are finance. What do we have to do to get this account functioning?
The money?
Resolution.
That's it?
we've got,
It's on my list.
we've got about a month to
Okay.
get that done.
We-
sounds like.
We'll have to talk to an attorney somewhere and have him write that resolution for us.
Man, if only we had
Okay.
Okay,
uh,
then they also gave us a proposal on law enforcement. It was pretty much what we had hoped it would be. They're gonna continue the funding the same as it has been. There's what do they call that? A charge, a service charge.
There's a 10% administrative
that's it.
fee and a 2% out of service area fee.
Yeah. But it's a good proposal and I think we should accept that as soon as we can get it and sign it. I think we should accept that. And then on the trash removal, we got exactly what we wanted. We're going to be able to stay on the county's contract for the next 5.5 years. And we'll pay the same price, although there is a price going up this year, but that's nothing to do with us. I mean, we will get the same price increase, but it's beneficial.
Cans though, don't we?
Not yet, not for 5.5 years.
Really? So
Yeah.
we're gonna keep cans with
Yep.
steel and everything.
Yes.
It's beneficial to the
It's a
county,
6-month deal.
beneficial to the
Because-
county and to us to stay
Because of,
together.
because of the economy of scale,
Yeah.
the sheer number that the whole county can
Yeah.
do, we're gonna save money, probably save money, they're gonna save money. We'll know for sure once we have our RFPs back.
And they took away that $7,000 a quarter charge.
They took away all the administrative fees, everything off of it. They will continue to do all the billing, collections, cans. It was exactly what we would have hoped for out of the county. We got everything we asked for there.
Yeah, I think those are good proposals. I'm grateful that we have those available to us.
Can I circle back to police or sheriff?
Yeah.
There was 3 possible expiration dates.
Oh,
there.
yeah. No, just two.
No, there
They
are
changed it. They changed it at the
So
very
it's-
end.
It's the end of June
With-
or
It's the end of June with 2 possible 3 months extensions
Yeah.
all the way to the end of the year.
to the end of the year.
Yeah.
If we mutually.
And that,
I'm
and the
gonna,
extension to the end of the year was put in kind of at the last minute
That
because,
was after the work meeting.
yeah, because it was
It was put there-
understood that it might take us that long to get one set up.
It
When
was
we
there
get to
to buy
police-
us time and help us.
when we get to police committee down here, I'd like to dive a little deeper in there. Not too deep, but maybe kind of come to an agreement on one of those dates. Okay, who wants to give us the?
Oh, wait, there's one more
summary?
thing on that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The finance, the county's also gonna front us
Yeah, that's what I was
our
gonna ask.
our property tax money. So we will not get any tax money until the end of this year when our property taxes are all paid. But the county is going to front us that money right now. We won't get money at the end of the year and they're not going to charge us for that. They're just going to front us that money. So I think that's also a pretty good offer.
Also the sales tax. They're gonna give us some sales tax up
Yeah.
to June.
Yeah, they'll front us all that interest free. We're going to have to be very careful with that money because we will not get another sales tax or another property tax
Till next
year.
until 2024,
The end of 2024.
the
No,
January of
January
2024.
2023.
We won't get any
Yeah.
in 2023.
You're
They're
right.
giving that to us right now. So it'll be,
property tax comes at the end of the year, but not even at the end of the year. It's January.
that they're going to give us 2022's tax right now. And then,
I thought it was giving us 21 tax, right?
no, they're going to give us
No,
the
22.
the year 2022 tax right now. And then 2023 tax, we will get January of 2024. So we're gonna have to stretch this money
This comes March.
2 years.
very carefully.
Yeah.
What date does this come again?
As soon as we get the agreements done.
It's done, so soon. Good.
The
Okay.
7th is the deadline, and I think they were talking about the 15th for the deposit.
And it'll really just depend on,
According to this, it says Twila County will pay Erda by March 15th.
yeah. And it comes down to when Colin and John get the agreements.
Well, it comes down to the
Finalized.
liability issue. That was the hot topic. Because there needs to be some kind of verbiage that both sides can agree, because I came up with the thing that says, if I was an employee and I violated like policy or procedures and caused damage or harm, how would somebody else but the employer be responsible for that? And so then there was put into thing, maybe put in something about egregious or something. There's got to be something that turns back to the county, because it's their employee. We got no control over them or anything like that. If they come to work sleep deprived or did something,
Starting tomorrow,
should be our.
we're gonna have our own liability insurance. And so I'm okay moving forward with it as it's written.
Well, I talked to
The
them.
mayor approves, we're okay.
I talked to them about that, and they said that they had talked to you about it, and they're okay with John and Colin working out
the
the
verbiage.
details of that verbiage. Of that. They're okay with that. And that's something they'll be worked through in that agreement. And we'll have our own liability insurance. That'll work out fine.
So a couple things. Liability insurance will not cover contractual obligation. This indemnification provision is a contractual obligation. Insurance will not protect you from that.
So we've got to come up with some kind of verbiage that works.
So, as I explained to Terry on the phone, I probably have done 100 interlocal cooperative agreements, and we've come to a pretty good solution to that language in Salt Lake County. And that is that we both do not waive governmental immunity, and we're responsible for our own negligence. To me, that seems pretty good, because we're responsible for us and they're responsible for them. We don't have control of their snowplow drivers. How can we be responsible for it? Anyway, I'll wrestle with Colin.
That was Terry's point.
Yeah. And they were very clear in that meeting. I went back and listened to the tape that they weren't willing to negotiate much of anything on that agreement.
that was echoed to me.
But in our discussion afterwards, they said, yes, egregious negligence, yeah, that kind of verbiage should go in there. But they're also willing to let you and Colin work that out. So.
And Tom Tripp told me last night that they'll be happy as long as we've got an insurance policy in place.
But again,
So-
our insurance policy will not cover
Right.
their negligence.
Right.
It'll be covered in the contract, right? Verbiage has got.
Well,
I think he
there's an
knows.
answer there somewhere.
We can work it out.
Sales tax, my understanding is gonna be variable, calculated each month. And so those will come in maybe 3 separate payments until we start getting our own, because they come,
Doesn't sales tax come every quarter?
It comes every month.
Oh, it does every month.
but we're how many months behind on that rotation?
About 3.
Okay,
So
so,
it's controlled by the state.
so we can expect probably 3 sales tax payments from the county, calculated each one, and then we pick up on our own in July.
Well, I'm hoping they'll front it.
Well, they are,
Just guessing
What
on
the state-
what the payments would be.
what the state was for the first order or whatever until June, and then after that, we'd be on our, getting it to us then. But they're giving that up front because the state is the one that really pays it. So they're paying us in behalf of the state.
Right.
For that portion. And then after that, it'll be coming to us.
Anyway,
That's the way I understood it.
I think it's a very fair deal. I think it's
Yeah.
more or less everything we wanted. We just got to work out the fine details, and we'll leave that up to John. And
Do we have to have a separate account for that also?
No.
That just goes into our general fund?
Yeah, it will all go into the general fund and into the PTIP bank account. And you keep track of it by books and by interest.
So it won't come into our personal account or our city account. It comes into that PTIF account.
That's correct.
and then it's Terry's
Then
duty
Terry,
as treasurer to move that around.
Right.
With our
yeah,
consent.
he'll transfer that to our general fund.
Okay.
One other comment on this, there was the loan part of this contract with the county. That loan is at 4.5% over 10 years, with equal payments over 10 years. And somebody asked what this loan's for. It was for the sheriff's department services. The money that we'll owe them for that, they are going to loan us with a 10-year repayment plan at 4.5% interest. Because they know that right now we can't afford to pay that.
Is the first quarter of roads not included in that loan?
The roads are not included in that loan at all. This is only for the sheriff's department. The roads will get
It's for
paid.
anything that is, it's like if we only had 40,000 and not 50,000 to pay them, then that 10,000 would slide into what we owe them. So everything at the end or whatever.
Or we don't pay them at all and we keep it all as a loan.
So
No.
here's what it says. It says Twila County will prepare and submit an invoice at the end of this agreement. Erda City will pay the county with interest at 4.5% per year, amortized over 10 years. No prepayment penalties, minimum annual payments of $15,000 to be paid beginning January 30th, 2024, and will be due on or before January 30th each year until January 30, 2034.
Correct.
So it's like almost anything we can't afford will slide down into that loan fund and
Yeah.
then we'll pay the interest on that.
They will collect the yearly road funds. We have to give them that within 30 days of us getting it. But the sheriff's department and any overages there, they're willing to carry that on a loan for us over a 10-year time period. Because they know that if we had to pay that up front, by December, we will have no money to go for the next year. So they understand that and they're trying to help us get over that hump the best way they can or feel that they can. And by giving us that money, gives us some money to operate and get creative and go find some other loan lending if we need it.
I thought the sheriff said he'd take Erda bucks.
I believe we're gonna be deficient to the tune of about 200,000. My own fuzzy math. We need to sit down with our new accountant and figure this out.
Are you counting the sales tax?
I'm counting everything. So I think we maximize this sheriff's loan, depending on what date we choose to start our own police department, because we have no choice. And then we make up the difference with some other lending option. Now, maybe this business with the lawsuit for undoing an incorporation is finished, and then we can go get a funding through a bank or some other creative option that we have to come up with. But I think we'll be deficient $100,000 to $200,000 in order to get our first snow plows and to start our police department. Again, we need to sit down with the accountant and kind of budget this out. We do need to adopt a final budget before we can spend our first dollar. Right now, all we have is a tentative budget. So far, it seems like it's pretty close, but we'll work that out in the final budget. We need to get that passed. I'm hoping before March 15th.
So we got a motor vehicle tax somewhere too that we'll be getting. I don't know how that's gonna.
What about the online that goes in with the sales tax, correct?
So we should know by our first sales tax payment what we can predict there.
Okay.
Anything else to report from that county meeting?
Just, I usually wouldn't allow public comment now, but Jeff McNeil's making a good point I'm going to read. The agreement they're talking about is available through the Utah Open Meetings website under the documents related to the County Council agenda from Tuesday's meeting. So that's what Terry read from is an open document that everybody's available to see.
Yes, it is open. That's why we feel at liberty to discuss amounts and things like that. So thank you. All right, moving on. All right, this is our liability insurance, which we alluded to before. Resolution number 22-06, resolution approving the acquisition of liability and workers' compensation insurance from the Utah Local Government Trust. I think the Utah Local Government Trust insures 92% of the cities in Utah and other small government organizations like cities.
Like mosquito abatement
Right.
districts and, yeah, I was
They-
surprised to hear that.
I was interested to learn this week that it is a government agency of its own. And so our agreement with them will be an interlocal agreement. And so this resolution hereby authorizes and directs the chair to execute and deliver an order to bind insurance coverage with the Utah Local Government Trust. Email I received today says if we pass this today, it will go into effect tomorrow. And we will have adequate time to pay this first bill. It runs from this date to June 30th. And we, oh, by the way, the amount is $4,930 beginning, it says here in the agreement, March 1st to June 30th, but the what I have from Curtis Tonks is February 18th. Anyway, $4,930 and is just for the first part of the year. We'll need to renew this before July 1st.
But that's the annual amount.
It's prorated.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. You're right. I forgot that part.
Goes July to July and prorated up to March or February.
That's right. So we will be paying the portion of that probably from February 18th to June 30th. I don't have a
We'll go to July next.
calculator ready, but it'll be that portion of it. Okay, and then it authorizes me to execute, sign that agreement.
You're gonna do that? You told me I was doing it.
Well,
But feel free.
it says right there.
Feel free.
But you know what? If you're offering to take this seat,
That was the last thing you said when I left. Was you just go ahead and sign this?
is how it's written. So we'll go with it.
Okay.
I can sign.
Okay.
Any questions, discussion on this? We're ready to vote. Okay, the chair will move that we adopt resolution number 22-06, approving the acquisition of liability and workers' compensation insurance from the Utah Local Government Trust. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay.
Scott did.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 22-06. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I'll vote aye. Sometimes I forget. We'll pass that unanimously.
We still need to talk about one more bill too,
On the insurance?
the map. When we get done with this part, the 5,100
Yeah.
authorized to pay and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, let's bring that up now.
Can we talk about that without it on the agenda?
What's in finance?
Or the finance committee.
In fact, I think that's what we maybe need to do is add a treasurer thing on the deal that I can give the weekly update on.
Were you able to make contact?
What I did was I called, oh, do we want to talk about this now then? You want me- I called the Wasatch Civil Consulting and then asked them. Apparently he contracted through them, blah, blah, blah. And so they're trying to get a hold of him now to decide who we end up paying. But what we're talking about is that we got a bill for the final map thing for the CAD drafters, the survey manager and designer and all this other. So it's $5,160. And so I'm trying to find out who to pay and then I'll pay that one until we get some money. So,
The whole 5,000?
Yeah.
You sure we don't want to split that?
well, we got,
1,000 each?
so hopefully we'll get some in March or whatever. So I ain't too worried about it, but we just need authorization so that I can do that.
Okay.
Hell, Terry's loaded.
I haven't had a drop.
John, do we need to have a motion to authorize Terry to pay that on behalf of the city.
I think you just need to keep track of it.
I think we did last week.
Well, that was yours 2 weeks ago.
This one.
We have adopted ordinance or resolution before allowing us to spend money on behalf of the city with the expectation of getting reimbursed, so. If you can get a straight answer and find out who to pay, go ahead and pay it, and we'll submit a expense report to Dave Sanderson.
Everybody else okay with that?
Anything else in finance? Okay, let's move on to the meat and potatoes. Land use and zoning ordinance 22-09, adopting a temporary land use regulation pursuant to Utah Code Section 10-9A-50. This is nearly a carbon copy of the previous ordinance we adopted, temporary land use ordinance adopted, which I believe was 22-07. Almost 100% of the changes are in section 1, except for maybe some typos. John, maybe if I could ask you to run us through this one.
Sure. This is compare.
There's no compare on it, it's the final, so I just accepted all changes.
Have you got to compare one for change?
I probably do. Well, this is the first draft of that, though.
No, okay.
Sorry.
So what this is an order, they filed a referendum against our 22-07.
I think it's 7.
And there's some question whether that stays everything that's in that ordinance or wait for the vote of the people. So to avoid the problem, I discussed with their representative what parts were objectionable. And the things that were objectionable then was that PC zone.
Can I just interrupt you and address why we are considering adopting this before moving forward with the original referendum?
Sure.
It is my take that it makes no sense to force 2 referendums to go through. And I think it's an undue burden on the city in expense and time to prepare the referendum, full well expecting that if we don't do anything, if we don't repeal that 22-07, the referendum is already filed, and we chance it getting enough signatures and us having to repeal and do this again with another referendum. We're trying to kind of preempt that problem. I don't think it costs the city anything to do it this way. Matter of fact, I think it saves the city time and money.
I think what everybody's missing though is regardless, this is a temporary. It's going to be a fluid document till the final one would be made by the residents of Erda, by our planning commission, by all this. Everything we do up to that point is going to be fluid, but it's going to be temporary. Anything we do or whatever is not permanent, it's just temporary.
Nor is it perfect. And if it seems like we're scrambling to get things put in place, it's because we're adopting things wholesale. We're adopting by reference full chapters out of Tooele County Code wholesale to get this done.
Right.
With the expectation that we'll have more time in the future to nail these down.
And the intent is this is good for 180 days. It's temporary. So that means the planning commission's got to get really going at it. Get something in place.
So maybe you could walk us through the changes that you've made.
All right, so the original 2207, is that the number? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you for sure here in a second.
That's it.
Had a PC zone in it. And that was really the objectionable part. So what I thought to do is let's remove from the ordinance the objectionable part and put it in two pieces. The piece that there is no objection to, which is 2209, I hope. And then the piece that's objectionable is in 2210.
Which is chapter 31.
Chapter 31, and a couple of other things in there. So that we can go forward and get building permits. Let people finish their basements, let people get building permits. Otherwise, we can't. There's a pretty good argument that we can't. In fact, they're actually a pretty good argument they're steady right now. So that's what I did, is put them in two buckets, so to speak. The bucket that's objectionable and the bucket that's not objectionable. And as the non-objectionable bucket, there's a couple things that I added most recently. And we might want to add a definition to it, but instead of referring to 1 acre lots, the suggestion was made to refer to RR1 acre lots, which is a defined term in the Twilla County ordinances that we're adopting.
Rural residential.
Rural residential, 1 acre, whatever, what that means, rather than just a 1 acre. Also, I thought it made sense to go to revert the skywalk to what the original zone was, and ochre to what the original zone was, rather than just put them into an A20. I believe that skywalk was in A120, so that's what I put it in, and that the ochre parcel was in an RR-5 and then a GC designation. So rather than putting it into a holding zone of an A20, I thought it makes sense. Just give them back to what they had before. And then the second ordinance puts it back, puts the PC zoning back, and then if somebody wants to file a referendum on that, they can. Hopefully that's explanatory.
In case anybody's wondering, Ensign is receiving building permits and has processed one. I talked to Jake today.
So we've got to have something in place here.
If you don't have anything in place, everything stops.
So I actually read the statute on referendum, and it's very clear that it's not stayed until they have signatures. Until it wasn't even questionable. It's clear that until they have verified signatures, it is not stayed. The moment they have verified signatures, it is.
I know the statute says that. Well, the statute doesn't say that. The statute says when they have enough signatures, the recorder can issue a stay.
Once they have enough verified signatures,
then
the clerk is to order a stay.
Right, and that's what you're talking about.
Right.
The Constitution doesn't say that. And so the ombudsman has ruled that it stayed on the application. So I don't know. But this fixes that issue, if there's any question.
It does.
Because I didn't want to have to argue with somebody that whether it's stayed or not, and whether the Constitution trumps the statute. The statute doesn't really say, that it's not stayed. It just says they issue a stay when this occurs. So it's kind of by negative inference.
But again, it's still temporary. That's why I don't know why everybody.
It is temporary, and they're trying to undo a PC zone that is vested. So
Well, that's under question too.
I've talked with 5 attorneys, and every one of them said this is vested. State Church, Godfrey Bell, the state ombudsman,
So it may or may not be irrelevant anyway.
If they want to do a referendum against it, that's fine, but it's not gonna
My
change.
understanding is they haven't, that's only going by one-sided issue. The other side didn't get to present anything that they had to represent to oppose what one side was saying. You have to have two sides to be able to come to the thing.
These are just questions that I've asked
That's what I mean.
these different attorneys.
One-sided. They don't have the other side's opinions or
The state ombudsman
intents
did.
or whatever.
The state ombudsman's very much been involved in this, and his opinion was clear that it's vested.
Have they given a formal opinion on that?
There
wasn't
hasn't,
that
there hasn't been a
process.
formal written request.
That's why he didn't give a formal written answer.
Right.
We are not going to resolve the question of vested rights
That
tonight.
we won't.
Well, there's really two questions. Are they vested, and if so, in what? Don't know at this point. But that's why I separated them out into two buckets. Because I think we wanted to go forward. And I didn't want to have to argue with somebody whether they can go forward or not.
Which is why I intend to vote yay on our second ordinance reinstating the PC zone. And I would ask all of you to do the same thing. It's the right thing to do.
What?
To reinstate the PC zone. This is we're getting ahead of ourselves, but this is ordinance 22-10. Reinstating the PC
So
zone,
9 takes it out, 10 puts it in on its own.
and we expect,
Puts it in a
Put one fire out and let one burn.
and we expect
Yep.
this,
Yeah, the referendum.
and this should be the referendum that ends all referendums.
So you only have one.
One instead of two for the city to deal with. It's the best solution we could come up with. I wish there was a better one.
I wish there was a better one too.
Again,
I agree with Jeff McNeil that cowing to every referendum that comes along is not a good precedent. But I think this is a good maneuver to try and keep things moving forward.
it's really not counting. It's just splitting the two. The one that's in opposition, go ahead and keep going, and the other one, leave it alone.
Well, you don't necessarily bow to a referendum that's threatened. There is a referendum filed.
Well, but that's my point.
Right.
As soon as somebody doesn't like something we do, they file a referendum and we have to cow to it.
Or threaten to.
Yeah.
But in this case, they have.
Yeah.
And it's the right of the
The
public to file a
state
referendum.
says we have to.
If they file it, we have to process it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I lean to, let's process it, but that's also somewhat sticky.
I think I would lean that way too, if we were sure we had until they got all the signatures.
But we're not sure on that.
Yeah, but we're not sure on that. It might be tomorrow. Yeah, that's a risk. That's a real risk.
That would cause all the other building permits to go.
Yeah.
It would be a complete halt to everything.
Then how do we fix it? To rebuild it, and we do exactly what we're talking about doing now.
Yeah.
I don't think you want.
I still want people to be able to work on their basements and do stuff. So
So the state ombudsman has ruled that when a referendum is filed, that's when it becomes,
Stays the ordinance.
stays the ordinance.
I wish we'd known that when we had him out here last week.
Yes, yes.
I wish you could just attend all of our.
I have never seen or heard of that one. Once again, I am not a municipal lawyer, so.
That answers my questions.
As much as I don't like it, it answers some of mine too.
Let's talk about this table. 15-5-4.1 is removed in this. That is the table referencing animal counts per acre.
Oh, we're taking that out?
Yes, so it's not, so we're not subject to it.
Why are we doing that?
Someone will file a referendum on it.
Let them file that referendum. And I can tell you why. I helped write that ordinance. And if you take that out, it's extremely restrictive for animals. Extremely restrictive for animals. It would, to say that it would get referendum if we take that table out, guaranteed. If we leave it in, it
Might.
might.
Craig,
But-
what are you able to file for with a conditional use permit with your animal limits?
The current code gives you 4 large animals per acre, and a conditional use would allow you to have 6,
50% more.
50% more. I think we need to send that back to our planning and zoning. And there's obviously changes that could be made. There's a lot of changes that should be made in all of these things. Our ADU needs to be changed and updated, but that should go through our planning and zoning.
And it should.
So why not take it out and let them do it?
I don't, the last thing I want to do is to make Erda's code more restrictive than what the county has, period. Animals, anything. What I would propose we do, and John, I may need your help with this, with your excellent talents that you have to be able to do things right off the cuff. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Let's not remove table 15.544.1. Let's adopt 15.54-.1. And since we're already allowing 50% increase with a conditional use permit, we're just adopting plus 50%.
So let me just think out loud a couple things here. There are no new conditional use permits allowed until under this temporary zone.
Which is another section I'd like to look at, but we'll get
So
there.
can we adopt the table adding 50%?
You can, but to me, the table is a limitation. If there is no limitation,
He's saying there's other.
That's not the way
The way
it's
the code is
designed.
written,
That is not the way it's
the
designed.
table increases the limits.
so where is it?
If you eliminate the table, you eliminate the right to have animals in Erda. That is the way the ordinance is written. You're only allowed to have what the table says you can have.
I can't confirm or deny because I don't know if the table is referenced in other parts of that chapter. or any other
I can tell you that the county spent 2 years and probably 100 hours minimum on this animal ordinance. And I was a part of it. And it took, the first meeting, there was 500 people in attendance. And the last meeting, there was 8 or 10 people. Almost split 50-50, those for and those against it. The county did a lot of work. There's some things that need to be changed and fixed. That's the job of our planning and zoning.
Okay, so let's take it out. Let's not put it in here.
I agree.
Can we add the 50%?
No.
Once we get to the point where we can do conditional use permits.
We can do it
Right.
tonight, and I'd like to if we can.
Why don't we just adopt the table that's in there?
That is
And
the
then give
clean
it
way
to
to
the
do it.
planning commission as one of their first tasks, or second or whatever.
I agree.
Everything we're talking about is temporary.
And
Again,
everything
it
we're
is
talking about
temporary.
is temporary here.
Well, I tried. So can I borrow yours since he's got mine?
Yep. I quite honestly think the wording that we cut out of the last one about the 1 acre lots that's been changed to RR1 is still confusing. And I would cut it all out. I think ordinance needs to be clear and precise. I would take all of that wording out. And the reason is, we don't have a single 1 acre lot in Erda that doesn't fit in RR1 zone minimum already. We have a small R110 zone, but there's only one lot there. It's a 22 acre lot. So until that goes through the subdivision phase, there's nothing in Erda that's not already legally there. So I would take
It's our R1 now.
it's all
That's what he's
RR1
saying.
or larger. So I would take all of that wording about RR1 and lot out.
What is,
just like we did last time.
What is all that, what are all the exceptions here with changing everything to at least RR1? What is that protecting us against?
Smaller lots,
Future smaller lots.
future smaller lots. Those that are here today, no effect. But future,
So the RR1 designation doesn't protect that?
there are in those zones some less than acre lots.
In an RR1
No,
zone?
no, in the zones that we have adopted, were adopted by reference. So
Are we assuming that the final pieces of our moratorium would be lifted before we adopt our final land use ordinance? And so this will protect us during that stopgap period.
this is the moratorium, so to speak. This repeals the moratorium. This is a temporary zoning ordinance, sometimes called a moratorium. These are the rules that everybody has to live by.
What we're trying to understand is,
So what I did is I looked at I thought that I had been given instructions to make sure that everything new was at least a 1 acre lot. And
Makes
so,
sense.
and so I looked through and saw that there are some places that allow smaller than 1 acre lots. I then put in that exception that says nothing smaller than a 1 acre lot.
it's long, it's confusing. John recommends it and it's temporary.
So you could have somebody come and propose a 1/2 acre lot. If you don't have a problem with that, take it out.
How does a person come propose a 1/2 acre lot in an RR1 zone?
Well, it's not an RR1 zone. There's other zones that we're adopting.
In this
He's
ordinance?
talking about.
But they're gonna have to
currently
do
zoned
a
on
rezone to do that, and rezones are clearly not allowed. We can't have a rezone right now, we don't have a general plan, so, and it's specifically called out that rezones aren't allowed.
I've lost you.
Well, you said someone could come and want to change and do a 1/2 acre lot, well, in an RR1 zone,
Is there already some lots that are platted that are 1/2 acre?
there's lots in existence with houses on them.
Are there lots that are,
Yes, there are subdivisions in Erda currently that have 0.4 acre lots in them. The Pier subdivision's full of them. But it's a platted, subdivided area. It's zoned to RR1, but it had a PUD. Once again, it has a vested right. You cannot take away someone's right to build on a lot because it's 0.4 acres. It's a legal lot.
He just answered that, didn't he? Just say it was zone RR1, but they had got to do 1/4 acre lots on it.
Somebody else allowed that. Different planning and zoning allowed that.
So that's how it can happen.
The subdivision has an overall density.
so you know what I would say is this is pretty technical stuff. Let's put it back to the planning commission, have them do a recommendation. Let's take it out.
We're under the gun on this referendum.
No, he's saying take it out tonight, send it to planning zoning.
Just the RR1 1 acre lot stuff.
The language on the RR1,
Uh,
or on that 1 acre lot
w-
language.
We've got a great planning and zoning. I think it's time to start using them.
I'm not gonna disagree with you
I
there.
can't remember what section it is in there, but conditional uses aren't allowed. I think we should scratch that out. And there are people waiting to do ADUs and have probably already made application at the county for them.
We talked to Jake, or Jerry talked to Jake today. He is getting hit up with conditional use, and we need a conditional use form. Is conditional use prohibited in here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh,
Do we have time to talk about that?
You have all the time you want.
Yeah.
we got all night.
It's 8 o'clock. All right. I'm going to scratch everything that says, unless there are any objections, I'm going to scratch everything that says anything following except any lot must be at least RR1.
All right,
And that is limited to section 1 in this document.
all right, chapter 19.48. Last time you had us scratch that out. The A1 zone. For some reason, and I don't know what the reason was, you had us scratch that last time.
I vaguely remember that.
And I don't remember what the reason was, but you had us pull that one out last time.
I'm stumped, can't remember. We don't adopt chapter 19.
No, and that's, I don't know why that 19.48. Last time you said it was an oversight. I don't know. I don't have any problem with an A1 zone by any means. But you asked us to take it out last time.
I think what I asked is the PC zone be eliminated, because I had it in the old one. That's what I was thinking. That's what I remember.
Well, let's leave that one in there.
I'm
then.
going to scratch the reference to the animal table 15-5-4.1 unless there are any objections.
I think we have to.
Like I said, I tried. Chapter 16. Okay, scratch and accept.
So where it says after that, accept any lot, cross that out all the way down to where chapter 17 is.
No, we're gonna keep, oh, we don't need to provide it, however, because
Don't want R110.
Yeah, we could scratch that out because it's irrelevant. And
Well,
that's
that's
gonna,
that R110 that we want to keep.
this says, provided, however, any property designated as R110 prior to January 5th, 2022,
but
There's only one. of
we've
them.
we've scratched
all
the,
minimum lot size required, so,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. 17.
So that appears, that language appears a couple of times in section 1.
Okay, I've got all the RR1 exceptions out of section 1.
okay.
We're still questioning 19.48.
Say, I certainly have no problem with an A1 zone. I don't know why anyone would.
Well, we're not accepting it, we are adopting it.
We're adopting it.
19.48.
Well,
Well, you're just mentioning that last time we
yeah,
scratched.
we scratched it last time. I don't have a problem either way. If John can't remember why we scratched it out last time.
I'm gonna look it up. Said we got all night, right?
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Okay.
I'm bringing it up.
Can we put the page numbers on here? Is there a chance we can do that?
Next time.
So if something gets messed up.
On our permanent code, it will be page numbered and line numbered. Okay, what is it, Craig?
19.48.
So Jess, your idea.
Signage, 19.48. Signage. Signs shall be restricted. This has nothing to do. Restricted to reasonable identification of manufacturer operator of large wind energy system not to exceed 72 square feet. Yeah, I'm okay striking that.
A windmill.
Jess, so you would be in favor of adding 50% onto the animal?
I'd like to do that tonight, but it sounds like it's more trouble than it's worth. This is temporary.
Planning.
Public has my commitment that we're either getting rid of the animal point system or we're gonna make the numbers more realistic. You're satisfied with that?
I'm satisfied with that.
1948.
Just, I don't want to misquote you here. We say that all the time. The public has your commitment that we will either increase the numbers or
Make them more realistic.
I think you said or eliminate them.
Eliminate the restrictions, the animal restrictions, or make the numbers more,
More realistic.
I don't know if I said realistic, but that'll work for now.
You say,
He did say increase.
So chapter 19 of the Twilla County Code is large wind energy systems.
Yep, I scratched it. There were no objections. Are there any other objections to section 1 as it's written in the document?
Now make sure, Jess, I did not put, you scratched 19, but I didn't put it in here.
It was only 19.48.
It's not in.
Right, it's,
let's see it on the.
It's in this copy. It's in
gotta
this
be in your
copy, so
copy.
we scratched it.
It's not in this one that I've got here.
Good, done.
That's probably the same as
Problem
the one
solved.
I've got. It's not on the one I've got either.
the one I got.
You guys are.
Here's the wrong section 1.
Oh. I went right over it.
17 to skips the 20.
It's windmills. It's called agricultural zone, but it's windmills.
It must be allowing windmills in an agricultural zone, I guess, that particular section
It's signage requirements for
for windmills, huh?
windmills and
Okay.
So scratch it.
it's scratched.
All right, moving on to section 3, I think we ought to talk about it, conditional use permits. We have a planning and zoning, why aren't we gonna let them look at conditional use permits moving forward? They've met, they've all taken 2 hours of training already, we're gonna have the state ombudsman come do an additional training at the next meeting. I think we ought to allow them to start looking at conditional use permits. We appointed them. They've had meetings, they've done training. Let's let them start doing the work.
So it would seem to me that's probably letting the horse out of the barn too soon. Because I think planning commission ought to work on a general plan first. What do we want? Then when you decide what you want, then you start configuring ordinances to meet that. You may have conditional uses, you may not have conditional uses. But we're just going into the county's conditional use table. And I don't know if that's what you want to do. If you want to do that, that's fine.
Could there be a thing that we allowed a conditional use and then the planning and zoning come back and says that's not going to be zoned in that area?
They can always say no.
So they can only give a conditional use for something that is allowed in the zone that's currently there.
Right, but we don't have anything permanent yet. Everything.
We don't have any permanent there, but the temporary one is there.
The biggest ramification of either adopting conditional use permits or not, in my opinion, is whether or not we're going to allow ADUs to move forward. And I have a soft spot in my heart for ADUs. And so unless I hear something that tells me this does let a horse out of the barn and opens us up to something we don't want, then I'm going to lean in the direction of allowing conditional use permits.
You want to allow all conditional uses or just allow conditional uses with respect to ADUs?
That's a very good question.
Maybe that's a better idea.
That is a good question.
Okay, let's come, we know it, we probably want ADUs. among the council.
We do.
What other things are we expecting to get?
A conditional
Applied
use for?
Right.
Isn't a conditional use permit cover a lot of things like a beauty shop in your house
Yes.
or some kind of home business?
Home business would be under conditional use. If you want to have increase in your animal numbers, that's a conditional use.
50% deal.
Yeah. The downside
Again,
is,
I
if
don't
you-
want our planning and zoning getting bogged down with this when they've got a general plan to create too.
they won't.
You don't think that our planning and zoning will be flooded with people looking for conditional use of animals?
I've been on one for a year and we haven't had a single one come through for an animal
I
increase
can
yet.
see them flooding them for that 50% increase in animals.
Now that it's public, it's more localized government, it will happen.
But it's been available for how long?
Right, but
It's been available for
we
a
just,
year and a half.
we just advertised to
We
the
just-
world that they should.
We just
go
let the
apply
cat
for
out of
that.
the bag.
It was advertised when the animal ordinance was done. I mean, it was very clear.
Okay, well,
And maybe if you don't want to allow that, you don't want to allow that, but let's.
my problem is I do want to allow that.
Okay, well, then let's allow that and.
Yeah,
I make a motion that we add 50% onto the animal ordinance.
We talked about that. It sounded difficult.
That's not a good way to do it.
So
I want to make that part of our permanent ordinance, and
Yeah,
I don't want to.
So what you're saying right here is scratch that out of conditional use so our planning and zoning doesn't get flooded with.
Yeah, I don't really like that option either.
I don't think that's a good option.
I think
I can tell you the planning and zoning will not get flooded though.
I hope you're right.
In a year and a half, we have not had one application in the entire county come forward.
Everybody does what they want. And they don't
Yeah,
apply.
and they may get some, but I can tell you they can go through these very quickly if they come forward.
Okay, what else?
Do we want to allow businesses or anything like that to do conditions? And maybe it is too broad. We could have an explosive plant. Got to deal with one of those last night at the county level. But I don't know where we try to draw a line. We don't even know where to draw a line.
I don't think we can draw the line tonight. I think we get to vote it up or down.
Again, it's just temporary, so let's not get wrapped around the axle.
I think if, we talk about things that are dear to your hearts with the ADUs, conditional use, but I have a beauty shop in my house that's conditional use permit. Be close to my heart and my checkbook. So I say we don't block conditional use permits.
I think we should allow them.
Is there any unexpected conditional use permits that we're not thinking of, John?
Oh, yeah, you'll get some.
Yes.
You'll say, oh, I wish we would have done that.
Your legal counsel would be, I would probably leave this out
For now.
for now.
Well, what I would say is I direct the planning commission to do what's most important, and that's get a general plan.
I
And as
agree
long
with
as you
John.
start directing their attention to other stuff, conditional uses are somewhat fun, more fun than a general plan. And people do things that are fun, that they like to do.
It's true, but if someone is trying to build a home and we don't allow them to do that, build a home for their family or
But I don't think this is saying. I mean,
An ADU is a home.
an
You
ADU.
want to put an ADU exception there, you can do that.
I think what John's saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's a better idea to have the exceptions than to just all out say.
I hear that.
Yeah.
That's what
And I don't want to have to come up with 50 exceptions that are near and dear to my heart.
Do an exception for ADUs and call it good for now.
And then the planning and zoning will come up with the rest of it.
And when someone comes to us and says, hey, I need a conditional use for
And
my
animals.
business, we'll change it in our meeting.
I say we do the animals and ADUs. So we can still allow people to come to the table with conditional use for animals. Just those two.
Everybody's breaking that animal law already. And I don't want it going in front of the planning and zoning before we have our permanent code.
Hey Craig, do you know which chapter the ADUs are in?
Not off the top of my head, I don't.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Darrell Anderson?
15 and 16.
And I think our ordinance for ADUs needs to be adjusted a lot. But once again, that'll be a job for our planning, zoning to get started on.
John, do you want to work on that? We'll circle back to this. Okay.
The next section I would look at,
I think we need to, let's go back to what, because Cal brought something up and you shot it down. So let's figure out what everybody else says.
Thank you, Terry. So Kale, yeah, you're right. I made a mistake. I should not. I shot it down, but it should go before the council. So Kale is proposing, and he didn't make a motion, but he is proposing that we, in addition to allowing ADUs, accepting ADUs from section 3.
conditional uses for
Allow-
animal ordinance and ADUs.
Correct. So we should discuss that and maybe even have a vote on it.
Do that, you're talking about doing that instead of having, just allowing conditional use permits to be
Instead
considered.
of allowing all of them, only
We're
those two.
only allowing probably ADUs.
I think it'd be a good idea. Is there people in Erda that already have the conditional use permit for animals? You do, don't you?
Conditional use permit? No,
No?
I'm within that animal ordinance. I don't need one.
So let me ask you this, how long, so suppose they come to the planning and zoning commission and they want to have a beauty shop in their house. How long does that take to decide, yeah, you can have a conditional use permit and these are the conditions? How long does that really take?
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
It should take 10 to 15 minutes because you have to have a public hearing on it. You really,
It takes time to get on the schedule, it takes time for notice
does take
periods
time
to
there.
take effect.
You don't even have staff to do it. Problem.
design engineering's doing those.
They'll do conditional uses.
Yes. As long as the fee's paid, they'll put it together and do it.
I think in case people start,
I think this is the reason we kind of did the moratorium, so we wasn't overrunning ourselves.
Oh,
Doing
you're
all
right.
this stuff, letting everything sit
You're right.
down and build the foundation before we start building the attic.
But if Jake's gonna do them,
And they take 15 minutes per meeting.
but the county planning commission isn't gonna get overrun with them if Jake's handling them.
They gotta be,
He'll do it and bring it to the planning and zoning. And then they look at them. And a conditional use is really hard to deny a conditional use. It's extremely hard to deny a conditional use. You put reasonable terms and conditions on, and that's what your job to do is. Unless you can see that there's no way to put reasonable terms and conditions on, you have to approve one. So an ADU, for instance, their job is to see that it meets all the requirements, ask for any input or questions about it, and if it meets the requirements, they are to approve it.
and then it comes to us.
so
No, that they are the authority that grants that. It does not come back to us.
if we out
For
these
conditional use,
Conditional uses do not come to us.
the conditional uses that we take out, right? Say we take the accessory dwelling and the animals, the other ones, or even if we don't do animals, those go away then completely. And are people not within the code? Even with
They're
the
not
town?
able to apply for them.
You're not able to apply for new
And
ones.
so therefore they're breaking the code.
No, anything you have is legal conforming.
Legal
It's grandfathered, but this is just saying, right now, we're not allowing anything new.
again,
We
that
have
would,
another problem, and that is as soon as we start implementing conditional uses, we need an appeal authority.
We do need a bill authority.
And this is, we're not quite there yet. I mean, that's,
Okay.
again, it's temporary. Like it says, we want to bring it back up in a week or two or whatever we can, but
Yeah, we're gonna have to table the considering eliminating or adjusting section 3. Unless there are any objections,
I would let ADUs go for sure.
we can't do it without a,
Well, an appeal authority is only used if
if it's
someone
denied.
doesn't like, if it's denied and they want to appeal. The county has one, hasn't been used in, I think, 9 years.
Well, we use our one in Mill Creek every month.
Your
You're
planning
doing
and
something
zoning
wrong there.
Commission is a lot more mean than ours.
But it's not only the conditional uses, but it's other.
Say they
Yeah.
deny one and we don't have an appeal authority, are we in violation of the law? Or do
If
we,
somebody wants to appeal.
or can we scramble and get an appeal authority
If
together?
it was denied and they wanted to appeal it, we could appoint the appeal authority, a judge. It can be any person we want it to be, or any group of people we want it to be. I think that's what the county does when there's an appeal. They appoint somebody. But I'm not sure, because it's been such a long time that they haven't updated who or what it is. I wouldn't go too crazy. I would allow ADUs to go. I wouldn't have a problem with the animals if you let those ones go forward. But I would draw the line there because we're gonna get into grayer and grayer areas.
Works for me.
I'd agree with Craig on that one. We'll allow those two.
I can go along with that if
Yeah.
I get a head nod over here.
I can do whatever you want.
Again, I'm gonna ask my question again. If our planning and zoning decides to deny one, and at that moment, we don't have an appeal authority on the books, are we in violation of the law? Or can we scramble and put one together?
You're in violation of the law, yes. Is it a problem? Probably not, because you can create pretty quick.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Then, John, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and figure out how we write section 3 to accept ADUs and the animal limit increase.
Animal units.
And conditional uses for the animal rights, or the animal.
Isn't that what I just
Yeah,
said?
I think you did.
All right. Probably said it poorly, but that's how I communicate sometimes. What else?
So you took out, can I enter that? So you took out the stuff where we eliminated the chart, right?
Yep, so we have a chart again.
Okay.
Mhm.
Section 4, subdivisions. I would allow subdivisions to start moving forward. And maybe the way to do it is ones that are currently in process at the county, which would be Majestic View and Sunset. Two subdivisions that are R1 zoning. Every lot in there is 1 acre or larger. But they were in process, I would allow those. I would not allow, at this point in time,
Nothing's less than an acre.
nothing less than an acre. I wouldn't write it that way. I would write it subdivisions that are,
That would have to go through our planning and zoning first, right?
yes, it
And
goes,
are they gonna apply for a rezone, do you know?
well, that would be in section 5 for rezones. And we have no general plan. We can't allow rezones.
Okay, so these are all 1 acre or larger.
These would all be subdivisions that would be in the current RR1 or R5 zones.
So these aren't the half acre lots, right? Not like the,
These are no half acre lots. And if we put in there that no PUDs, put that in there.
So I see.
But let's allow those 2 subdivisions that are halfway done. They already have their concept plans done. Their concept plan is done and approved on both of those subdivisions. Let's let them pay the fee and come through the city.
what do you think, John, on this one? I know you're busy over there.
But it's Still has to go through the
You can let a
planning.
lot of, horses out of the barn.
On that one
This is
too?
another horse out of the barn. Your call. But you don't even have a general plan to know what you want.
But these two subdivisions,
Any general plan.
as long as
is
we're
gonna-
not letting an unexpected horse out of the barn,
Well, if you let subdivisions out, they're all in. Whoever wants to come to apply for a subdivision. But if you want to limit it, that they have made an application, paid their fee or something, you can do that, and that would only let it's just those numbers, it's just to open it up.
Any other but those two, Craig, to your knowledge?
Not that I'm aware of.
I think we should check and make sure that there's no other ones but those two, just in case. At some point, maybe table this one as well.
I'd like to table consideration of section 4 until next week.
I won't fight you.
What else?
Section 5 is solid. There's no question about that. 6, 7, 8, 9, it all looks good. 11,
Okay. So we're waiting on verbiage for section 3, allowing ADUs and 50% minimum conditional use. So the chair moves that we table discussion of ordinance number 22-09 until John has that ready for us.
And the same with 10.
And 10.
Because 10
Tabled.
changes.
09 and 10. So I move that we table 22-9 and 10 until John has those changes for us. I will need a second. Second. It's been moved and seconded that those are tabled. All in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Okay. Let's get back on the horse that we just let out. Okay, here's an easy one. On to section B, roads.
Scott and I have a meeting next Wednesday with Jake, and we're gonna go over, he wants to talk to us a little bit about the potential railroad crossings that are gonna be crossing 3 of our roads. 138 Erda Way and Sheep Lane, as well as Mr. Bell has come up with a map and has given it to our city attorney, or it's not attorney, city engineer, Jake, to look over and go over, and he's gonna go over that with us as well next Wednesday, and then we'll have because the county wanted to make sure everything was okay with our side of the house before they submitted the final one, so that'll all be happening Wednesday,
So you probably have something for us
Thursday.
Thursday. If we want it on the agenda, it's gotta be at least 24 hours notice.
Just put it on the agenda.
And maybe if we can predict what it'll be.
What'd you say, we'll talk about it?
It's just a discussion. We don't have to vote on anything.
Because out of that, once we decide to do the thing, then the final map will come out or whatever, and then that'll be that.
I'm gonna ask you to send me an email to remind me to get that on the agenda. I got a voicemail from Maddie at UDOT wanting to talk about the Mid-Valley Highway and where that might go near the airport. And that's all I know.
Last I heard, there was a study underway about connecting 138 with Evans Way. That's been a while ago. I haven't heard anything, how that came out or if it was still going or what was going on.
So I returned that call. She hasn't called me back. I'll probably talk tomorrow and I'll have more details.
So will you give her mine and Terry's phone number, or what's your idea there to talk with
She
her?
wanted to, she's trying to set up a meeting between the county, Grantsville mayor, and Craig and I. How she
Okay.
come to me and Craig, I don't know. Maybe she figures
Wasn't that
chair
on
and
the call?
co-chair, I don't know.
It's not our call who we send.
Yeah, sure is.
Well, Terry and I'll do it unless you want to be there.
Yeah, I want to be there.
Okay, then. We'll do rock, paper, scissors.
But you guys are the commission.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So you're gonna have to beat us at rock, paper, scissors if you want to go instead of
No.
us.
No, I'm gonna defer to roads committee.
Okay,
We voted on that. And
okay.
I think that's important. So I'm giving you two guys first shot.
We appreciate it.
What else on roads? See, dictatorship works.
We got half. Oh, man.
Okay, anything else? Any more discussion on roads?
No.
Are we still, I think it's appropriate. Are we still feeling like choosing the first quarter option from the county?
March, January to March.
That's what I would think.
So we can get that April snowstorm.
A little bit of a gambler, and if it brings a big April snowstorm, we all win.
I'll pay for whatever it takes
Don't say that.
to get the roads. Brings a snowstorm in, I'll pay for whatever it takes.
I saw John's
Everything
face.
down, you're on board.
Nah.
I saw John. You thought I was bad, didn't you?
Okay, moving on. All right. Road or police. Mr. Travis Romney, the police chief from Stockton, has put his hat in the ring. Would like to come to Erda and on a volunteer basis, do much of the work to create a police force for Erda, do the paperwork, and get everything in line before a date that we will need to discuss and agree upon. The date we inevitably choose will probably coincide with the dates that the county is proposing in their proposal. So July 1st, September 1st, January 1st.
So Travis is taking Erda bucks.
He's taking Erda bucks until day one. When day one comes, we've got some money we've got salaries to start paying. And he's got a proposal there in his hand. There is quite a bit of startup costs. Now this startup cost, we get to pay. The county is not going to extend past January 1st. Erda will be creating its own police force, period, or contracting with another entity, which we have not been able to get a favorable quote from any entity. So I think Erda is creating its own.
Amicable to it because that kind of helps them out as well. That they'd have more resources for backup with Romney and his crew here. Be able to
Work together. Thank you.
I am gonna just propose, this is not a motion, we're not voting on anything, we're discussing this. But I'm gonna propose that we choose September 1st as our start date for.
You think we can do it that quick?
well,
September 30th would be.
depends on the money. I mean,
I'm sorry, what date is it?
It'll
Is
be
it
the end of-
September 30th?
Yeah,
Okay,
September
so October
30th.
1st.
We get it done that
We are
quick?
accruing a loan from the county from January 1st to September 30th. Our startup costs are around 100,000. That startup period from the county equals, call it approximately 150,000 in a loan, which we immediately owe first year $15,000 of, because that's our minimum payment.
Yes.
But I don't think it quite gets us there. That's why I keep saying we need to borrow $100,000 to $200,000 this year. But it's a start date that's soon enough that Travis isn't tempted to go somewhere else and he can get started somewhat quickly. And it solidifies our plan to have a police department.
Does that include manpower and vehicles or equipment or just?
He's gonna go over some numbers, so I'll let you ask those questions to him.
Yeah, let's have
Travis,
Travis.
if you mind coming up, and I'm gonna put you on the spot.
So when Jess asked me to put these numbers together, I originally put some, and then this is kind of updated.
Thank you.
When I put numbers together for any of my budgets, I always plan for the worst and hope for the best. So some of these numbers are going to be a little higher than what they're actually going to come in at. And Spillman is actually
Perfect example.
yes. So the county uses Spillman wide, and so that's the recommended dispatch and reporting system I'd recommend, simply because it will tie us into Grantsville, to Tooele County, to Tooele City. And we kind of like staying county-wide because the information sharing just becomes a lot easier. But originally, for Spillman, when I put in the proposal, it was originally $98,000 for a setup. That was the last bid that they did out here, and that was for Grantsville City. I went ahead and contacted a friend of mine there at Spillman and had him set it up the way I thought Erda should do it, at a much more reduced model. And that price actually came back at about $45,000. And that can be broken up into payments over 5 years, or they can do it payments throughout the year. There's multiple ways to pay for it. But that highlights my point as far as planning for the worst and hoping for the best, is some of these numbers are going to be a little higher. And I think we can get them down lower.
So wait a minute, before we get too far on this,
Absolutely.
Spillman is what?
Spillman is what's called the dispatch and reporting system. So
Don't we have to subscribe to the county for that?
you have to subscribe for the county dispatch, which is actually the person on the radio putting in the calls and everything like that. The Spillman system is actually what they're going to be sending it to you with.
Technology.
So we have to have our own transmitter, so to speak.
It's not a transmitter, it's a computer program.
It's the receiver for them to get dust with.
I see.
Yeah, it's more of a computer program that will allow dispatch to send direct calls to us, but it also allows us to do reports as far as, we go on burglaries or thefts or things like that. We can do the report all in that system. It has a workflow that allows us to track. We can also pull stats. It allows us to book people directly into jail. It's kind of a multifaceted thing.
Okay.
So as Councilman Byrd mentioned, the minimum startup cost would be about $103,000. Again, I really feel we can get that lower. It just really depends on a few things. And I haven't started reaching out or trying to negotiate with anybody, simply because I didn't want to overstep. But like I said, I
assume 103,000 because they're always
Plan for-
unexpected costs.
plan for the worst, hope for the best. So that'd be your minimum startup costs. That being said, when I was putting together numbers, Councilman Byrd mentioned that 320,000, give or take, was what the study originally had brought up for police department. And with that in mind, I actually got it to $320,006. And again, I actually believe we can knock that down even lower than what was originally bid to you guys, because some of the numbers as far as insurance and pension, retirement, things like that we need to have can come in a little bit lower. So I think we can actually bring it lower than 320,000. Now, that being said,
Make it clear to the public, nothing we do is gonna have us match the deal we're getting from the county.
Correct.
But we are at or below our feasibility study. And we've got to do something. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. And I will second that. Sheriff Wimmer is one of the finest lawmen I've ever met. He's even a better administrator, and I'd put the Tooele County Sheriff's Department agency up against any agency in the state. They're a decent agency, and they're good.
One officer.
Huh?
What officer?
You'd have 2 full-time officers and then also a reserve pool of officers that we'd pay part-time. And that would, like I said, would get you through for a little bit. Obviously, it was more subdivisions, more homes start coming in, you know, the cost would increase and more officers will be.
So does our budget.
And so will the budget. So that would be for 2 full-time officers. And like I said, a full part-time. I've got several officers that are committed and want to join, one of which actually lives in Erda City. So like I said, we'd be starting right off the bat with the ground running. That being said, the big question that has been brought up is how long does it take to start a police department? Between 4 and 6 months, depending on how fast you want to work. And so the reason, you know, I want to reach out and bring this to your attention is 4 months would be July, 6 months would be September. And those are right now your, you know, first 2 deadlines. The other thing I wanted to bring to attention is with the Spillman costs, if you reach back to the second or third page, the Spillman quote or bid, if you notice, is only good until December of this year. So if you wait to go till January of next year, we'll have to get a new bid from Spillman, and that cost could adjust or change based on that.
So give us your estimation on being ready to go on October 1.
We could
Give
do
us-
it- we could do it by October 1.
To get him ready for October 1, we need to come up with a resolution accepting his offer to work on a volunteer basis to set this up and guarantee him the slot on October so that he's not working for nothing. And I think we ought to do that, try to do that within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Just something we don't have to worry about RFP.
We've got an RFP out and we've contacted several authorities. I think we've hit our minimums.
I think everyone in the county, unified, contacted a lot of people, and it's
This is,
not this deal.
yeah, we don't need an RFP for the police force.
So give us your
We do
thoughts,
need to shop
Travis.
though, and we've done that.
We do need to, yes, and we have done that.
Give me your thoughts on starting October 1 as opposed to starting January 1.
So
Would that give us more breathing room? Is October 1 going to be?
We're gonna say December 30th,
Right,
no,
right, because,
to get in on this contract.
well, yeah, we'll have this stuff bought before January 1 anyway.
correct. So we, either one, October 1 or January 1, we could do it. Where the only thing, the only concern I'm bringing up is the wording in the county's contract that states that both parties have to be mutually agreed upon on the extension. So
Oh,
why
I see what you
I
mean.
feel that, yes, most likely that both parties will be mutually agreed upon the extension. There's always that chance that one party isn't going to be agreeable to that extension, and come July 1st, you might be on your own to go, depending on the political climate, if you will.
I have talked with the county about this, and I know what some of the conditions for those extensions are.
I thought it was our option to go.
If you read the contract itself, it states that both parties have to be mutually agreed upon.
And that contract's not done yet. John's working on that.
And the other thing is, like I said, or like I was explaining, I make the argument that you 5 men know better than anybody in Tooele County what it's like to try to start something from the ground up while playing catch up. So what I'm asking is we don't start that with the police department, that we get the chance to set it up. So that way, whether you do it July 1, October 1, or January 1, it's ready to go.
So
We've had a 4 to 6 month period of preparation.
do you think there's any chance that John can work out the wording in the contract to get us just that extension without terms? Just, we go till January?
No.
You don't think that's a possibility?
I took the opportunity to attend the county council meeting on Tuesday, and you had a couple of county council members that were pushing for the December deadline. You had some that were resistant to it, but ultimately agreed as long as that wording was in there that both parties were mutually agreed. But you had a few that made the comment that they want to make sure that we're moving towards our own police department. They have no interest in being a long-term contract.
It has been perfectly clear that county does not want to be our police force. And I don't blame them. They, you know, the climate, we want you to be your own police force, have your own police force. We'll help you. We'll give you extensions if you need time, but you need to work your way towards that. So the extensions are simply based on, are you making efforts to become your own police force? If they were to say January or July 1st that we've made no efforts to move forward, they would be more likely to cut us off on September 30th.
I think we plan on October 1st, but depending on our financial disposition, that may be more of a,
You gonna murder us if we agree on October 1st and we have to push you back to December 30th?
No, and like I said, I'm good with whatever deadline. My only reason I'm pushing for getting started is simply just so that way we're not caught off guard, we're prepared. Because I mean, it's a lot of waiting game when you're applying for ORI numbers, getting recognition through post, you know, working on some interlocal agency agreements and things like that. There's a lot of fine tuning. Plus you also, you know, have to adopt a police department policy and procedure. You have to adopt an employee policy and procedure. I mean, there's a lot of little nuances that we have to get in place prior to taking over. And that's more what I want to focus on right now, is simply so that way come July 1st, October 1st, or January 1st, again, it's not crap, go.
isn't the sheriff going to give you a family and friends discount on used vehicles and stuff?
Well, we don't know. Like I said, the county is offered to help quite a bit. We'll see what we can work out. Like I said, I haven't gone into full negotiation mode yet because I haven't wanted to overstep my authority. Spillman was a big one that I wanted to take into consideration, simply knowing that other agencies have recently paid upwards of $100,000 for that. And so I wanted to see what we can do to work that lower. Everything else, we really haven't taken the chance to negotiate yet.
So it sounds to me like we ought to be shooting for October 1st. Start up to be on our own on October 1st.
We could do it by October 1st. Yes.
If we get somewhere in between now and then and there's a problem.
We're that much further along.
Yeah.
They're going to cause a problem with you?
No, we can work around anything. So,
We don't want to put you out of sorts or anything. We want you to be part of this conversation as
no,
well.
I'm good with, hold on.
Polling services as soon as you have something up and running.
You said you could do anything?
Well, I'll do anything that's within reason, you know, that I can legally do. Yeah, so not anything, but.
All right, well, I had to ask.
You know, and I talked to the county council a little bit in the meeting, and you know, because I kind of had that in that agreement a hard stop of September 30th, and I thought it's very possible you'll be up and running and be fine by then. But in the event you're not, I kind of asked them, let's be a little flexible on that, because whether it's a September 30th or a January 1, it makes little to no difference to me. And there's just quite a bit, there's a significant bit of groundwork that's got to be set up in order for you guys to make it happen.
Does Travis have your endorsement?
Yeah, no, I he's a good man. I think I've never seen any reason to question his ability. So yeah, I have no. I think he's a great option. So yeah, I don't have any reservations recommending him as a town marshal or a small agency chief, whatever you want to title him.
Do you see having an interlock with us so that he can back you up?
I think that's state law, isn't it?
Well, it's not necessarily state law. It's just an unwritten rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We no one agency is big enough to handle every occasion. There's always going to be them occasions where you're spread too thin, and we run into it with highway patrol, but vice versa. there's many accidents on I-80, there's no way Highway Patrol has enough people on to do it. And so we're out there backing them up. And so, yeah, whether it's Twila City, Grantsville City, Stockton, Erda, the focus on every man or woman in uniform is public safety. And, jurisdictional lines start to blur once, all hell breaks loose. And so there's not an Erda resident there's not a resident in the county that cares what color your uniform is when you arrive. And that's the philosophy.
Depends on what they're doing wrong.
Depends on what's.
Yeah, that's true.
Good point.
If you're speeding, you probably would prefer green pants versus brown pants. So, we have a great working relationship with all agencies out here, and so yeah, it's without reservation that I think what you guys are trying to accomplish is very doable, and Travis is a good man to get the ball rolling for you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yeah, thanks.
Unless anybody has anything else, I'd just close by saying Travis is willing to put skin in this game, just like we are, and that goes a long way with me. He's given us numbers that we needed to see, and yeah, I'm good. My position right now is that we move forward with Travis. We choose the date of October 1st as a start date, and that we give him authorization to get the ball rolling on these things within 3 to 4 weeks.
Do you need a resolution to do that, or
I
can we
think
just say
so.
verbally?
What I'd probably think about doing is having a contract with him. And basically no pay until October or whatever was worked out. So that he is an authorized representative of Erda, that he can do some things.
Just like a lot of the things we had to apply for with incorporation required a city email address, the same thing's gonna go with Travis, and so he's gonna need a city email address from day one.
And he'll
Okay.
be dealing with people and he'll say, who are you? Are you really a representative of Erda?
Yeah, they'll see erda.gov and there will be no questions.
So you're gonna be able to come up with a contract, John?
So I think we ought to just table this till we get the contract back. We'll move.
You have our support, at least mine.
Yeah, mine too. Full support.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And me too.
Thank you, Travis.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you so much.
John, are we ready to circle back?
We are.
Okay. All right, we're gonna end discussion on police and come back to item C, land use and zoning, starting with ordinance 22-09, temporary land.
So
use.
before you go back to that, we just think about this police department again.
Oh, okay.
Probably, I'm just thinking about out loud, what I'll probably do is a resolution authorizing and directing the formation of the police department and entering into a contract with them, then do a contract. So you'll probably see 2 resolutions for next week, whenever you want to do it.
Having him appointed one of them and then doing that.
It's probably gonna be the coolest one we vote on.
You're okay with a resolution without a contract allowing him to move forward?
I'll have a contract there.
Oh, you will? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Resolution.
Okay, are we done with the police?
Yes. we are.
Okay. All right. Back to ordinance 22-09.
Okay, so I have some language to propose on section 3.
Okay,
You want me to read the whole paragraph?
don't add any, give me time to write as you
Oh,
add.
I've got it written.
Oh,
If you want me to.
yeah, read it out loud and we'll take yours.
Well, listen to it, but it's written enough that I can go real slow, whoever. So, this is what it says, notwithstanding that the portion of the county code adopted by reference in section 1 above refers to certain conditional uses, close paren, of real property located within a zone no conditional uses of any real property within the city shall be permitted, except, and this is the language that I wrote, except accessory housing units as referenced in chapter 15 and 16, and farm animals units. I think I missed that word there. Farm animal units per acreage as referenced in section 15-5-4. And then the rest of that paragraph would go away, because those were exceptions. And I think that one exception in there for the for those that have paid their fee already was an accessory housing unit anyway.
Yeah, it was.
So you're saying, put in our new exceptions and strike the remainder of the paragraph
Except the last sentence.
during, okay. And the last sentence is, during the term of this ordinance, all uses that are not expressly permitted shall be deemed expressly prohibited. Okay. If you can hand that to me when you're done with it, I will fix it, the online version, and print it and sign it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt ordinance 22-9 with the amendments in section 1 and section 3.
I'll second. Been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance number 22-09 as amended. We'll do a roll call vote. Terry Minor?
Yes.
Kel Martin? Yes. Jess Bird votes yes. Craig Smith?
Yes.
And Scott Grubay.
Yes.
Okay. We have a unanimous vote on that.
Who was the second on that?
I was. Okay, on to ordinance 22-10. The changes in this document from the one previously adopted and now repealed are sections 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go ahead and read those. We are now amending the ordinance we just passed. Section 1, amendment to ordinance 22-09, chapter 31, planned community zone of the Tooele County Land Use Ordinance that existed on January 5th, 2022, is hereby adopted by this reference in its entirety. Section 2, amendment to zoning map. The zoning map attached to ordinance 22-09 with respect to only the specific area wherein any reference to the planned community zone was deleted and a A20 designation be inserted in lieu thereof with respect to Skywalk parcel, and a RR5 and CG designation be inserted in lieu thereof with respect to the Ochre parcel, is hereby amended to designate only such area as planned community zone. And section 3, copies attached and on file. A copy of chapter 31 planned community zone and a copy of the zoning map as amended are here attached here too. All other, section 4, all other provisions of ordinance 2209 remain unchanged. Any discussion on this ordinance?
I move we accept or pass ordinance 22-10.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance number 22-10. And is there any other discussion? To proceed to a roll call vote. Terry Minor?
Yes.
Gil Martin?
No.
Jess Bird votes. Craig Smith?
Yes.
Scott Dubay?
Yes.
Okay, we've got a 4 out of 5 vote with Mr. Martin voting no. Okay, that's all we have for land use and zoning. Moving on to solid waste. I think we've covered all the points that we want to cover there.
I believe so.
Gail, do you want to plug ordinance discussion series?
Yeah.
Give us the 30-second elevator speech.
So tomorrow here at 6 o'clock, we're going to have the discussion series, 6 to 8. If you haven't RSVP'd, do so now just to let me know. We're also,
What's your email address, Gail?
jmartin@erda.gov.
That's where you'll RSVP. Okay, is that your plug?
Yep, that's my plug.
This is just the first,
Yeah, this is the first one.
but are we having three?
Yep. For right now, the date changed on the one.
The
For right
dates
now.
right now are February 18th, March 4th, and March 11th.
So where have we advertised this?
We've advertised on both Erda City for Facebook groups.
Both my Facebook.
It's on the Utah Public Notice website. And then we've got
All at the same time.
Kale's Facebook, and he's wildly popular.
Yeah, it's about 6 to 8. Yeah, right.
So that's it.
6 to 8 p.m. Is that correct?
Yep, 6 to 8.
I've got an agreement here that John has drawn up. And I would like to authorize the chair to sign this agreement with Mr. Anthony Nocella. However, in this agreement, now, I just want to make it clear that Mr. Nocella insisted on doing this for free for us because it's part of his role as a instructor, a professor, and his students would be involved, and so it's a learning opportunity for them. However, Mr. Martin, out of the goodness of his heart, insisted that we pay him $1,500 for that. And so where I take issue with that is that not 100% of this community may be on board with this discussion series happening, although I endorse it and I think it's a great idea because it was my idea. So we are going to strike.
And it was an offer of a personal donation. I wasn't expecting.
All right. Well, I'm going to join in that with you.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask the community to join in on that. So what I'm going to do is there will be no payment for services. However, Mr. Nocella may have a commitment from Mr. Martin and myself that we will have a tip jar at these, as long as our council agrees, John Brems, we will have a tip jar at these discussion series. And any amount collected therein, if it is less than 1,500, Mr. Martin and myself will make up the difference. No tax dollars are going to this event aside from wear and tear on this building in the parking lot. Any questions or discussion on this agreement?
No, I move that we authorize you to sign an agreement with Anthony Nocella with the understanding that no Erda City funds will be paid in this contract.
So what does the agreement cover?
Let me read it.
Just the highlights.
Kale, you and John and Anthony worked this out, so I'm not going to be the one to do the highlights.
Yeah, you want me to do that? Or
Yeah.
John can, or I can. So let's see. This agreement is made effective February 17th of 2022 between Anthony Nocella, an individual, and the city of Erda, a Utah municipality. Nocella is experienced in providing, organizing, and monitoring services the city needs. Nocella represents to the city that he has significant expertise in providing such services. Consequently, the parties have determined that it is mutually advantageous to enter into this agreement. Termination, without standing anything in this agreement to the contrary, either party may terminate this agreement at any time by giving 30 days prior written notice to the other party. Tax compliance, Nocella at risk. Nocella hereby represents and warrants to the city that, except as may otherwise be expressed, provided herein, all activities and work performed by contractor under this agreement shall be Nocella's own risk and liability. No agency. Nocella shall have no authority to act as an agent of the city, to negotiate or to enter into any contracts or agreements for or on behalf of the city, or to otherwise bind the city without the city's prior written approval. Nocella shall not represent himself as an agent or employee of the city, and may indicate only that Nocella provides the services on behalf of the city. It's probably the most important part. The rest of it.
Okay. Simple contract that allows him to be here and hold the discussion series.
Just a third-party contract.
Okay, did you make a motion?
I did.
Would anyone like to second that motion?
Or was it?
Second.
That we authorize the chair to sign this document?
Sure.
Been moved and seconded that we authorize the chair to execute this contract. Is there any further discussion? No. All right, we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Now, I'm wearing 2 or 3 different hats. I get that. But Kale, were you able to get a hold of Somas to invite them to that discussion series?
No, I haven't gotten their email. Do you have their email? Do you think it's too late a time to invite them to it?
I don't have it. I don't know. I don't think it's ever too late.
Yeah,
There's 3
we can
meetings.
somehow get their email. Yeah, and there's 3 meetings. So
Yeah.
we'll make sure we
The first meeting, he wasn't planning on doing a lot.
just introduction mainly.
Introduction, set of guidelines, rules, get some input on what to have discussions about. The second 2 are gonna be where the real meat would be in it.
Yeah, and that's where someone should attend.
Don't you think we'll have different people each time? I wouldn't think,
Same
I wouldn't
It's
think,
it's possible.
I wouldn't think we'd need to have 3 if we're gonna have the same people all 3 times.
We have a lot to discuss, and is why we would need 3. A lot to discuss in our ordinances.
Well, if it's done in 1 and 2, they can always cancel.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be done in 2 meetings.
I
We're not
think
gonna be
it's
done
gonna
in
be
3, we're not gonna be done in 30. 3 is a good number.
Yeah, good number to start with.
It very well might give us some hot item topics to give to the planning commission. They will not write a single ordinance in here.
Mhm.
They will give some guidance of what maybe,
And I don't
Could be
think
there
we're
for the-
limiting this discussion to just land use either.
no,
No,
It's
zoning.
all Erda ordinance.
Yeah, all ordinances. And we might want to do something like this in the future, see how well this goes. And with other topics and other things, I think it's always good to have the public involved as much as possible. So,
Okay, any other discussion of ordinance adoption?
I need to go back to finance for a second to clarify something.
Okay, go right ahead.
Because that loan that was talked about is specifically only for the law enforcement, none of the other stuff.
Mhm.
It's
That-
strictly just for law
That
enforcement.
seems to be the consensus, yes.
I clarify, because I think I said something different before, but is strictly for the law enforcement.
I was thinking and hoping it was for the roads, but it's not. We've got to come up with some snowplow money.
Well, Scott said he had that covered.
Oh, that's right, you got us
right.
covered.
I'd pay-
only for the
I'd
month of
pay
April.
any price to get a snowstorm in here.
I don't have anything for IT, unless somebody's thinking of something I'm not. The fire department should have been talking about our proposal to possibly have our offices in their West Erda building tonight. So have an update for that next week.
But we are-
Kyle's also offered his office up. That's still on the table.
Kyle
Matthews,
Matthews.
just for the payment of some utilities.
Has not, where's he have an office?
On Main Street, right across from Walmart. Fully furnished.
But our next meeting is at the fire station in Erda, right?
Yep. That's right. Thank you for bringing that up. This room is booked next Thursday. We'll be meeting at the West Erda Firehouse.
Now, do we have to specify stuff like that on John? Like if we had a resolution or thing?
He will. It'll be on the agenda.
Oh, what I mean is like in our resolution, it says something about the meeting place is, and then it kind of specifically says this, but then if our meeting is actually down there, do we have to have something that allows multiple home stations?
By law, you have to have a regular meeting place, but I don't think that excludes.
So you can't be somewhere else. As long as you put it on the public notice, you're okay.
But what you're saying is at the top of the agenda, next week, it's gonna say, this meeting will be
It
held at
will,
the.
and my post will specifically say that it's moved.
I'm talking about is in some of the, I don't know if it's an ordinance or a resolution that states that this is like the
A regular meeting.
regular deal, and but if we go to the fire station, that.
Okay, I have not made any movement on advertising for a city clerk, but that's just shooting my own self. So
You like it?
I'm gonna get on that soon.
You see my glare from over here?
We've got council representative reports, comments from council members, and I would recommend that we table those or just table those indefinitely and move on to our closed meeting.
I think we ought to talk about our meeting last night.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, there was a Erda CA. It was put on by Erda CA last night. It was a toast to the city. I spoke and Jess spoke, and Scott and Terry were in attendance, and I think there was a really good feel for community in that building. That was a really good meeting.
Kind of a celebration for our cityhood.
Yeah.
Actually getting in our certificate of incorporation.
Yeah.
And I would just further that by saying the night before that, it's been a busy week for our city of Erda, but our first planning meeting I thought went very well.
Oh.
And
Great.
I don't think we could have picked a better planning commission.
A lot of really good people in that planning commission.
Yep.
Well, in good hands.
Chair's not bad either.
They elected themselves a good chair. All right. The chair moves that we move to a closed meeting to discuss reasonably imminent litigation per Utah Code Section 52-4-4205. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, we need a roll call vote to move to this. And I'm going to amend that motion that we start with a 5-minute recess, give these people time to clear out. So I move that we go to a 5-minute recess and then move to a closed meeting to discuss reasonably imminent litigation for Utah Code 52-4-205. And can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. We'll proceed to a roll call vote. Terry Minor,
Yes.
Cal Martin.
Yep.
Jess Bird votes yes. Craig Smith
Yes.
and Scott Rubin.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Meeting is now in recess.
We gotta send those girls home, maybe.
That's what I was just thinking.
And then we'll have one car left.
You have keys.
That's all right.
Which way do you want on?
Can you stop recording?
Oh, sorry. Thank you for reminding me.
And stop the